We are back with another episode of our Falcon and the Winter Soldier review for episode 5, Truth. Man, this episode, I mean, it lived up to its namesake. Truth. I mean, you got a lot of it this episode. When I saw it this morning at 6 a.m., I immediately texted you and said one word: masterpiece. And having seen it again, I stand by that. I like, out of the entire series, and I also did say that I didn't like about the show that it feels like it's a movie, and we're just getting pieces of that movie. Well, this piece of the movie is the masterpiece section.
This piece of the movie is the main course. When you sit down to eat, you had your great tasting appetizers, your great beverage, but now you just had the main course. And episode 6 will be the dessert.
Exactly. So
I want to say too that I also enjoyed the series. It felt very eerie, not eerie, but it felt similar to the scene from Captain America: Civil War, in which Bucky and Cap fought Iron Man.
Yes.
It felt, but it.
Wait, now that you're talking about a specific scene, do you want to jump right into it? Because that's the first scene.
We should just jump right in.
Yeah, that's the first scene.
The events pick up with the Captain America, what's his name? John Walker.
Right after John Walker.
John Walker not on the run. He's taking a casual. He's taking a little jog back to a warehouse. You know, he's hyperventilating. He's still unsure of himself on what he does. But then when he finally takes a breath and I guess he jumps back into where he's at currently, he goes to walk out, and who's waiting for him inside the warehouse but Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
There you go.
And he tries to rationalize to them that I had to do it.
Right.
And it was no other way, but they both had this look like, no, you didn't have to do it.
Right.
And B, we were there with you. It was no justification for the actions in which you took.
Right.
And
he did not kill Lamar.
Yeah. And they keep on cutting back to the shield, and you see the shield with the dry blood on it.
Oh no, the blood is still wet because how the scene ends. Yeah, it's very touching. But go ahead.
So they basically insinuate them that they're there for the shield.
No, they don't. They don't insinuate. Bucky says, "Give us the shield." Sam doesn't say it.
Yeah,
Bucky
Sam says that.
Give us the shield. It's like, so that's what this is about.
he put it together too. Because at first he was talking to him, then he goes, "Oh,
that's what this is about." The way it went was Sam was like, "Listen, man, you gotta calm down. You gotta bring yourself in. You know, you're getting out of control. I understand, blah, blah, blah." And he was like, "Listen, no, I had to do it. You saw what was going on, da, da, da." And then he was like, "You understand me, right? Like, I can't do this." And then Bucky goes, "Give us the shield." And then he goes, "Oh, so that's what this is about." It's like, he's like, "You don't want to do this." And Bucky goes, "Yes, we do." Oh man, this episode was amazing.
So you just find out just how strong John Walker is, and
that's fresh super soldier serum.
Yeah, John Walker's a very strong man. And we also find out that Falcon really shouldn't be engaged in this fight.
Exactly.
Because on a couple occasions, John Walker tried to go to his finishing move on.
Right. Which is now, I guess, Captain America's new thing, cutting off heads with the shield.
It's like he has the Macho Man Randy Savage elbow.
Yeah, man. It's like get him down on the floor, sit on his chest, and then chop his head off.
Decapitate him.
Yeah.
He calls it the guillotine.
Exactly. Nice. That's a nice move right there. I like that. Nice. The
guillotine. And let's just say, safe to say, he did not succeed in using the guillotine. He was 1 for 3 in the past 2 weeks.
Nice. Thankfully. Thankfully. So they,
a struggle ensues, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I thought Falcon and the Winter Soldier was
had no wins.
Yeah, they had no wins because he incapacitated Bucky for about a couple of minutes, and then he pulled Falcon's wings off.
Just ripped them off.
He just plucked them like a
like
Thanksgiving
a
Day
piece
turkey.
of paper off a legal pad. just peeled them right off. And it was like, they are not getting that shield back.
Dude, this is not looking good. Yeah, so I mean, they eventually were able to outwit him and break his arm.
Well, they didn't really outwit him. It was just that they used sheer force. Like Bucky used his jetpack to pull him one way. I mean, Sam used his jetpack, which was all he had left, to pull him one way, and Bucky had to pull him the other way until his arm literally broke. And that was the crazy thing. Even after that, Sam falls to the floor, because of the inertia. He falls to the floor. They break John Walker's arm, and I think they knock him out with the shield. Bucky does. And then Bucky stands over Sam with the shield and drops it next to him like, here, this happened because of you. Steve gave you the shield and you gave it away. And so this man's blood is on the shield. The man's blood that's on the shield, that's because of you. And you see that reflected when Sam gets up and he picks up the shield and he starts to like wipe the blood off. And you see like him broken, like doing everything he can to try and get that blood off the shield, which is why it wasn't dried, because he was rubbing it all over the shield. But it was a powerful scene because he had to feel some sense of guilt. And he wasn't directly responsible, but, I mean, realistically, Steve gave him the shield, and regardless if he thought he was ready for it or not, him giving it up, allowed the US government to do what they do so many times, and that's make a bad decision.
Yeah, they have a tendency to make a bad decision, to make a bad circumstances worse.
They had to steal the shield last time just to get it back to Captain America. So it's like, what makes you think giving them that shield, they do the right thing with it,
Yeah, and it was almost as if they just looked for the perfect stage, the perfect casting actor to play Captain America. They didn't do any background. They didn't do a psychological evaluation.
They definitely did. No psycho.
You see just in a little bit of conversations that John Walker isn't tightly wound. He's not tightly wrapped. He
clearly is still suffering from PTSD from whatever happened over in Afghanistan.
Exactly. And what they failed to understand was that the suit didn't make Captain America. Captain America or Steve Rogers made the suit.
Right.
The suit didn't enhance Steve. Steve enhanced the suit.
Right. We leave that scene and we I'm not sure if we then jump to the trial of John Walker, or do we jump to
I believe
Sam Wilson going back to Baltimore?
Yes, I believe we jump back to Baltimore first.
Okay. Sam Wilson goes back to Baltimore with the shield. He sits down with Isaiah Bradley and is like, listen, I need you to tell me like why you didn't, like what happened with you?
Well, no, you also get him prior to that. Sam goes into his backyard because Isaiah Bradley, he's working on his garden, and he goes to unzip it. And he goes, don't unzip that.
Yeah. I don't, I don't want
to see that. I don't want to see that. And if you can't see it for yourself, then you just as blind as everybody else.
Exactly. And if you don't understand what he was talking about, he was just basically talking about the hypocrisy of America, like that standing for freedom, but what they did to him, it was in direct, contrast to like what America presents itself to be, and how they treat certain people, And so what ends up happening is Sam asks him what happened. How did he end up in prison for 30 years? And Isaiah Bradley tells his story. And it's pretty similar to the comic The Truth. He
You know what else is similar to?
What? Oh, Tuskegee, the Tuskegee
No,
experiment. Oh,
no.
What?
Captain America.
Yes,
Remember,
yes, you're right. You're right. Because they told Captain America no, and he went and he became a hero.
He went to go free the soldiers who were captured.
Yeah. So basically the same story.
He became a cultural icon for that. Mm-hmm. And Isaiah Bradley became prisoner 00781.
Right. For that. And you know, quick version of the story was basically they tested on the men. He was the only one that was stable. A lot of soldiers, black soldiers were were held prisoner in the war. They were going to just let those men die.
Well, no, they were going to napalm the whole area because they didn't want any evidence,
right, of the other men that they tested the serum on, and you know, their versions of the serum. And just so you know, it had degenerative effects on all of the men. The only one that was stable was Isaiah Bradley. And even in the comics, his wasn't stable because he began to lose, he began to regress to the mind of an infant in the comic. But in this, it was stable. And he decided to, you know, break out of wherever he was and go save the men. And in doing that, they said he went against orders, and basically he was in prison. As he was being held, he had a wife before he went in. And what ended up happening was they told her he died and would not give him her letters. A woman that was the nurse at the place he was being held helped him escape. And they got together, and that's basically where his family comes from. His grandson, who we know as Patriot in the new Avengers, Young Avengers. We're hoping that they do a spinoff and we get to see his grandson.
Let me ask you a question. In the comic book, does Patriot have powers?
Yes, but it's different. He has to take the super soldier serum, and it's like a minor version of it. He has to, and it's not like it doesn't stay with him for long. But Isaiah Bradley's son does. I think his name is Isaiah X. I think Isaiah X. Oh no, Isaiah X he's like a mercenary for America. He does a lot of killing. he just has the super soldier serum.
So he's Killmonger then.
Similar to him, yes.
So let me ask you a question. So
Josiah X.
So you say he has the super true, but did he take it or did he genetically inherit
Josiah
it?
X inherited it genetically. I don't know exactly if Josiah X is Patriot's father, but I know that Patriot's is not his abilities aren't the same as his predecessors.
Yeah, because the genetic blueprint would have diminished generation to generation.
Yeah.
So, but Isaiah Bradley's how he feels is how Black men of that age felt.
Yeah,
and still feel till this day.
Yeah, definitely. He said a very powerful line at the end of his whole speeches towards what America did to him. And he said, America will never have a Black Captain America. And no self-respecting Black man would ever want to be Captain America. And so when he says that line, you see in Sam's face this sense of whoa, okay, well, there is a lot of debate. He's getting a lot of pressure from Bucky, about what Steve wanted and what Bucky thinks should happen. But also he knows how America's treating him and his people, his sister, and so he's in this weird place. And then he's literally talking to a man who was betrayed by America. So now the question is, does he take up this mantle? Can he fully represent these ideals of a country that doesn't actually see him?
I think in that one instance, Bucky is in a position that if you are a Black man, you're in the age between say 30 and 50, you understand what Isaiah Bradley went through, and no way do you condone it, but you're also saying it is bad, but it's not as bad as what Isaiah Bradley had to go through.
Well, what the interesting thing is, I don't think that was Spoiler alert.
Because Isaiah Bradley's life experience aren't Sam's.
Right. But I'm going to say this. I don't think that that's what Sam took from his explanation. I think, and spoiler alert, Sam is going to be the next Captain America. No question. But what Sam says something very poignant later on, which is he has to keep fighting. Like, yes, it was bad for Isaiah, but the reality is if they stop, if Sam stops, then those Isaiah, and then everything Isaiah Bradley went through was for nothing. He has to keep fighting and he has to put the suit on, because him putting the suit on is to show that change. It's to be that change, regardless of if America wants it or not. The reality is he's here. And regardless of what they did to Isaiah Bradley, they could not stop them from they could not stop there from being a Black Captain America. That's what I took. I could be wrong.
Yeah, well, no, I understand what you're saying, but I took it as more or less Sam is the embodiment of what it means to be a Black African American in the year 2021. Whereas I know the shit that you put us through, and that you put us through, and still putting us through to this day. But I also know that I don't give a fuck, and I could do whatever I feel like doing. And I'm gonna put this suit on, and I'm gonna throw this shield.
Just so you know, we're kind of jumping back and forth now, because he hasn't made the decision at that point, but you know where it's going.
Yet, but you know what he's going to do.
Right. We're gonna quickly move through this because a lot of this is filler. Like, we're just really telling you the most powerful moments in the show.
To us.
Yes, to us. The next big scene, I'll let you tell it, is the court scene with John Walker.
Oh yeah, the government basically. One thing America doesn't like to be done is made fool of, to be made to look a fool in the public sphere. And what John Walker did, because I don't know if people know this, but to a lot of Europe and to a lot of the world, America is just mindless barbarians. And what John Walker did was an act of a mindless barbarian, and it made me have a flashback thought to when in Black Panther, when T'Challa had not Killmonger, Claw, for being responsible for murdering his friend's father, and he could have killed him.
Right.
But because the cameras and everything was out, he thought better of it.
Right.
Whereas John Walker did not give a fuck. He's like, I'm an American and I could do whatever I want. I'm a barbarian.
Right. So, he's in trial, and what exactly happened?
Well, they stripped him of all of his ranks and of his pension, and they stripped him of the role of being Captain America. So they basically knocked him all the way back down to a civilian. He didn't go to jail for murdering someone.
Right, there you go. So that's
he essentially committed murder one.
Right.
In the middle of the street in front of the world. Right. It wasn't manslaughter, it was murder one.
Right.
Or not even murder one. He committed an assassination.
Well, no, assassination is it's hard because assassination is more premeditated. I mean, it's hard. I think it's more murder. I think it's murder. But yeah, I mean, regardless, he should have.
He caught a body in the middle street in front of everybody and was ready to do it all over again.
Yes. So that's prison regardless.
Yes.
But for them, they let him go scot-free. And when he gets into the hallway, who do we see?
We were told a big cameo was coming, and WandaVision, this is what you mean. This is what we mean by cameo.
Yes.
I'll let you tell it, Tom.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Selena Meyer, what is her name? Elaine Bennis, comes in.
New Adventures of Old Christine.
I was trying to remember the name of the show, couldn't remember it. Comes in with her confidence, her swagger, and she walks up to John Walker saying,
comedic timing.
Yes, walks up to John Walker like, "Hey, what's going on?" My name is Countess Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. You know, my friend.
Let me just say this one thing, Tom. No black woman sitting next to her man is going to allow any woman to come in in between them.
Very true.
So that was science fiction.
She comes in, you know, John Walker's sitting on a bench outside the courtroom with his wife, who we find out, like, we saw her in the first episode and we weren't sure if she was his girlfriend. She was a woman of color. We learn now that she's his wife.
I thought she was Battlestar's sister.
Oh yeah, no, she wasn't. And we see that as she goes, you know, my name is Countess Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, but my friends call me Val.
Her name was Ivana Humpalot.
She's like, but my friends call me Val, but don't ever call me Val out loud. Just say it in your mind. Don't let me hear you say it. She said, but you know, call me Val. And basically she said, you know, I think, you know, it was smart of you to take the super soldier serum. She was like, taking the super soldier serum was the second smartest thing you ever did. Second to marrying this firecracker right here, talking about his wife. She said, but you know what, the first smartest thing you're gonna do is you're gonna take my phone call when I make it. And she gives him a card and she's like, you know, because listen, the US government, you know, the US government, they're bogged down. They don't like to be shown, like, you know, made to look stupid in front of the world. So that's what's going on. And, you know, but listen, you still have talents that we can use. And so, you know, understand, and like, don't even worry about the shield. She was like, oh yeah, I know you lost the shield, but guess what? It doesn't really belong to America. That it's a gray area. It doesn't, you know, so don't even worry about it. And then she walks off.
Yeah, you get a Nick Fury sort of CIA vibe from her.
I found out a little tidbit about her. That was why they were trying the reason Disney was trying so hard not to let Black Widow, like not push Black Widow and have it come out in theaters, because that's the first time you're supposed to see her. The first time you were supposed to see Julia Louis-Dreyfus was she was in Black Widow, which was supposed to come out first. And so you were supposed to see her in Black Widow and then see her in this and be like, oh man, because yes, she is supposed to be Nick Fury. And what people are assuming is she's assembling the Dark Avengers. And the Dark Avengers are like I mean, you know, they're not good people, but they work for the government. And so like another.
Think Suicide Squad for
no, like Dark Justice League Dark.
Well, Suicide Squad also goes, aren't they villains?
No, not all of them. Dark Avengers? Not all of them. I mean,
some of them are, yeah.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, they are villains. Now that I think about it, yeah, they are bad. Okay.
Yeah.
So what ends up happening is, and what they say was supposed to happen is, in Black Widow, Natasha's younger sister is supposed to be a part of the team. Like, she recruits Natasha's younger sister, and Natasha's younger sister is supposed to have a cameo in the next episode. So they're tying everyone to Julia Louis-Dreyfus. That's what was supposed to happen.
Oh, nice.
But it, you know, because of the pandemic, you know, it ruined everything.
Amongst other things.
Yeah. Next we get the scene where Sam goes, next we get the scene where Sam goes back to Louisiana. You know, his sister doesn't want to sell the boat. He gets the town to help him. I'm running through this because this is just filler. But while that's going on, we see Bucky go to Sokovia, where we see Baron Zemo, and he's like, what took you so long? And we see Bucky, you know, basically Baron Zemo's like, I'm done. Like, I mean, he doesn't say this, but it's clear that he's ready to be caught and he wants to die because of his family. And Bucky puts the gun to his head and he's like, you know, saying to Bucky, yeah, you're a killer, so do what you do best. And Bucky tricks him. There was no bullets in the gun. And the Dora Milaje stand up behind him saying, basically, thank you, Bucky, thank you, Sam. I'm sorry, not Sam. Thank you, James, for letting us know. And we will take him to the raft now.
And don't call us, we'll call you.
Yeah, basically, stay clear of Wakanda at least for right now. You know, things aren't great over there. So he's like, I understand. As they're walking away, Sam goes, can you do me a favor? before you go, and to Io.
Not Sam, Bucky.
I keep going, yeah. And see, that's how good the show is. They're interchangeable. And Bucky says to Io, like,
outside of the color, you can't tell them apart.
Exactly. And so what ends up happening after that is when Io, he calls Io back, and you don't know if she agrees or doesn't. While Sam is in Louisiana trying to get his parents' ship back up and running, Bucky comes.
I'll say this: the town owed his parents a lot of favors.
Yeah.
Surprised the daughter didn't cash those in years ago.
Yeah, basically. And so what ends up happening is Bucky comes in and he brings in a case from Wakanda. He's like, I just need you to sign for this, and then I'm gonna be out. And Sam is like, well, what are you talking about? Once again, now I'm going to start speeding through all of this. And
they also leave out the part, like, how is Bucky able to travel? Like, where's he getting
money? He's got money.
From?
Oh, he's got money. He's got that good Hydra money.
Yeah.
Got that good Hydra money. Hydra's paid. Don't sleep. And so, and then Bucky's getting ready to leave, but Sam's like, no, stick around, help out. Montage sequence of them working together, getting closer, being friends, blah blah blah.
Bucky flirting with Sam's sister
Sarah, and then it comes to a point where Bucky basically says to Sam, like, Carly's coming back out, like that. This isn't done, and we need to be ready, and really, it's time for you to pick up the shield. And then we cut to a scene where we see Sam and Bucky basically like playing toss with the shield. And, this was a very good scene because in it, Sam basically tells Bucky, like, asking him if he still sees nightmares and he's still having problems. And Bucky says, yeah, I'm still having nightmares every night. And he's like, what are you doing with your, like, making amends? And he was like, yeah, I do that, but it doesn't help. And he's like, well, when you're doing it, are you trying to do it to make yourself feel better? He's like, because if that's the case, that's not what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be making them feel better, regardless of how uncomfortable.
No, not feel better. You're supposed to be giving them closure.
Yes, I'm sorry. You're supposed to be giving them closure. He's like, and regardless of how painful it is, that is what your mission is supposed to be. Give everyone you've affected closure. And so, you immediately are drawn back to I'm not sure if the man was, the Asian man, whose son Bucky killed. And the Asian man says to Bucky earlier in the season, he has no idea what happened to his son. And so, and so that was a powerful moment. And then, and Sam basically says to Bucky, like, don't let anyone tell you who you should be. And that went both ways. It's like, don't let anyone tell you, like me, I'm not going to let anyone tell me I should be Captain America, nor should you let anyone tell you you should be whatever you can be whoever you want to be. Mm-hmm. And from that moment on, you see that Sam has clearly accepted the role as Captain America. Then
he starts doing his push-ups. And
we cut to a montage exercise sequence, which means he is all in.
Yeah, I was thinking about when Batman was training to fight Superman.
Oh wait, I don't remember that.
You remember when Batman was training to fight Superman? He was doing the pull-ups.
Oh yeah, and the tire pull. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, basically that. A montage sequence of Sam running around the house, reminiscent of him in Civil War. The Winter Soldier, or him doing backflips, or maybe his stunt double doing those backflips because he wasn't doing those flips. Tossing the shield around the place, and him getting slowly better and better and better with the shield.
Yeah, I wonder how many times he dislocated his shoulder catching that shield.
More than enough, because it couldn't have been that much, because he doesn't have the super soldier serum and he can't heal that fast. But we finally see him master basically tossing the shield and catching the shield. And so we cut to Carly Morgenthau basically having a conversation with her comrades, saying like, okay, the next plan is we're gonna blow something up. We're gonna do something very drastic. And she calls in the villain from the very first episode, where Falcon is chasing them in a helicopter. I forget his name, Baltak or Baltac, something like that.
Well, one of her followers was like, "We aren't terrorists. Why are you
Exactly.
calling this guy?"
And she was like,
And you could clearly see there's going to be a fraction within her followers in the next episode. She's about to cross a bridge that
interesting.
they,
That's not, I didn't get that. I did not.
because
I see what you're saying, but I
yeah,
didn't get that.
because it's one thing to call yourself a freedom fighter, but it's another thing when you start killing innocents.
Right. But she crossed that line before, because even the guy when she blew up that building with yeah.
In their defense, you could say they were soldiers.
True.
With whatever it is they're plotting, it's going to be the janitor, the office cleaner, the person who's walking their door. You know, it comes a point when you become a fanatic, and she's clearly in that fanatic stage.
Right.
And I don't believe all her followers are.
True. So we'll see. Like, we got one more episode to go. What's interesting is
she could be a new member for your team that you talking about.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think she's just going to be. No, you're right. She could be. But so then we move. Oh, and so now the interesting thing about Baltac is Baltac comes with his
Baltac.
Okay. Comes with his like with a bomb for them, and that's when her partner says like, "Are we terrorists now?" She's like, "Haven't you heard? We're criminals." The thing that's interesting is
there is a difference.
Yes, there is. The thing that's interesting is you hear where Baltac got his bomb from, which was Sharon Carter, who is the one who can get anything because she's the super fence. But we know, right? Like, we know, right? I mean, she's the power broker. We know this. We knew this from the very first time we saw her. She is the power broker. She is the one that wants to get the super soldier serum back. And now that it's gone, who knows what her motives are? She's probably going to try and get Carly. And so after we see that scene, we see Agent Torres again, which we see in the first couple of episodes that he disappeared. And he basically reaches out to Sam saying, "Hey, listen, Carly's being, we got a ping. We know where Carly is. We usually see her in Europe, but now we see her in New York City. So, keep your eyes out." And Sam is like, "Don't worry. I see the news now. I know why she's here. I know what's going on." And as Sam is watching, he sees that it's the GRC vote. And he knows that that's something that Carly would target. So then he goes to the box that Wakanda gave him, and he lifts up the box, and end credits.
Well, it was like a blue light, right? Or a sky blue light.
I didn't see a light.
Something was omitting from the box when he opened it up.
Okay, well, that would be, yeah. I didn't see that, but I wouldn't be surprised. And then, Mike, will you share the cutscene?
The cutscene.
End credit scene. End credit scene.
Well, the end credit scene, we see John Walker in his backyard putting together his own shield, but not stars on his shield. He's putting his medals on the shield.
Yes. So we are going to see definitely a shield on shield, Black versus white Captain America in this next episode. I am too excited.
Do you really think he comes back, or I don't think he comes back.
What? Are you serious?
I don't think John Walker comes back until we see him with whatever his next step is going.
No, we see John Walker next episode. This show would completely suck if we don't see John Walker next episode. That's the whole thing. It's a big showdown.
What is he going to do? Who is he showing down for?
To get the shield back. He feels betrayed.
Why? So why would he make his own shield?
Oh, and remember, he got the call. So we don't know where they're sending him. They're probably sending him to New York.
Did he get a call?
Yeah. He got a call when he was standing outside, when he left Lamar's family's house. Oh, we forgot to say, he told Lamar's family a lie saying that he got the guy that killed their family. Not a big deal.
And Lamar's sister was giving him the stink eye the whole time he was there. She wasn't believing an ounce of what he was selling.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. That being said, but when he left the house, that's when Val called him.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that he's gearing up because he's doing something.
Oh yeah.
I really hope he wears the U.S. agent suit, which is very similar to his Captain America uniform, but instead of red, white, and blue, is red, white, and black.
what is the black symbolizes? What is the black?
It's black like it's black like his heart. There you go. So there you go. So, like I said, I am excited. I cannot wait for next week's Falcon and the Winter Soldier episode.
You know what I have a feeling? You know what it feels like, but not as dark as it almost feels similar to the Netflix Marvel run.
Really?
Yeah. Seems a lot more grittier and deals with a lot more real world issues.
Okay, well, I guess it's definitely in comparison to WandaVision. Yeah.
I mean, it ain't that hard to be, but,
right? I guess, yeah. I mean, it's a way more serious, I guess, because it's a smaller scale, so they're not worried about world-ending events, so they can touch on like issues of racism and things like that, post-traumatic stress. They can touch on that because they don't have a giant, alien that's about to erase half of the universe. So they can deal with that stuff now. So, but like I said, I'm really excited for next week. This has been,
I will, what? I would love a couple, like 1 or 2 shows from Marvel about life during a blip or superheroes' lives during the blip.
I don't think we're going to get that because like we're getting so much information about like the repercussions of that. I'd be surprised if we go back to, well, this is what happened, because now we're getting all of this. I mean, I'm not against it.
It's Disney Plus, they need content.
I don't know if Disney needs content. Disney seems to be doing pretty okay. They don't really need to put anything else out now to have won the year. Because there's nothing else on any other channel that I would say at this point has been as big as the 2 shows they put out. But we'll see.
Don't you mean 3?
Oh, well, I was thinking of Marvel, but you're right. Yeah, Disney Plus. Yeah, it's like they're fine. Like they feel no threat whatsoever. It's like, we just gonna sit the rest of this out. We won the year. Once we pulled Luke Skywalker out, the year was in January. The year was done. It's like I don't even know how they're gonna compete.
Yeah, that is a steep climb, man.
But like I was saying, this has been our Falcon and the Winter Soldier review. We will be back next Friday with a new episode.
And this episode gets 4 water coolers. No, excuse me, 5 water coolers.
5 water coolers, hands down.
WandaVision, eat your heart out.
Well, I was a fan of WandaVision. But all right, everybody.
He was the only one.
Peace.
Peace.
You've been listening to Two Brothers at a Water Cooler with Mike and Tom, produced by Jamie Fernandez and Peter Bune. Rate and review this show on Apple Podcasts, and you might find your review in a future episode.